What's cracking, guys? JP here again, bringing you another update of my 90-gallon reef tank. Today we'll be cleaning the pumps in the reef tank. Algae will grow, and that's the first thing is your pumps is going to be higher up. So up here, our pumps is a little bit gunked up with all the algae. So we gotta clean it so that we'll have the speed a little bit faster, the pump working more a little bit better. So pump more water. So these are the Hydor Koralia. It's just always on. It's the AC version. There's no fancy plug and play about it. Just plug and play. So we'll turn this off first. There we go. What I like about these pumps is they are kind of unattached to the base, so you can actually just plop it off and it will come off easily. Just like that. Make sure you have the bucket ready. Strip in there. Slowly bring the cord down. Here we go. Other pump. So usually I clean these pumps about, I would say, every once a month, depending on how is my nutrients. The less nutrients I have, the less I have to clean it. But a good interval is usually like every month or so. That's a pretty good size. There we go. All right. Get some. There we go. Alright. Down. Perfect. Alright, once we got the pumps, we'll take these to the our restroom to get it cleaned off. So we'll go over there. First, I usually get this rinsed off to just get rid of the excess algae. So we'll use some regular water. Clean it off. You can see how much algae already came off, like cyano, hair algae, bubble algae. There we go. Now, once we get some water, I usually get some toothbrush and start scrubbing some of the algae off. Most of the time, the algae on the pumps are easy to remove, as long as it's just hair algae. Sometimes if you have like bryopsis or one of those turf algae that are like green and very short, they're harder to remove, and then that's when the vinegar comes in. A lot of people, still use vinegar. I know there was some controversy using vinegar with MP10s because of the magnet expanding, but I never had any problems as long as like a short-term soaking. So still be cautious about using vinegar. Just scrubbing this up. I'll also show you how to take this apart, these Hydor Koralia Gen 3. There's a way on taking these apart. So I have removed the guard in the front to kind of boost the flow. The flow with the guard is usually 1,500 gallons per hour, but without the guard it's only it's actually 2,000 gallon per hour. So once we got that off, we can actually just remove these are very, very flexible. Yes, there we go. Sometimes coral and algae will grow on these, So let's see. Ooh, is it gonna come off on me? It's actually stuck with coralline. That's not coming off. Let's try the other one. Yeah, it looks like there's some coralline algae growing there now. So you can just take these off. I think. It used to be easier. There we go. You just pull it apart like that. So from where the head is, you just hold one side and pull it like that. Alright, once I got that pulled, I usually clean the inside. As you can see, there's more algae. You can see all where the grills are getting blocked off. So I get that cleaned off. Oh, there's even some algae that's really hard in there. Clean it even more. Nothing fancy. Just clean the propeller. It's like going to the dentist and having your teeth cleaned every 6 months. Instead, it's like every 2 months for these. Alright. I'll clean the other ones later. So we'll take this one off. So hold one side, just basically pull this apart, which doesn't like to this time. There we go. Just basically pull it over. Now sometimes, especially with seaweed, once you start scrubbing it off, it will have this seaweed or ocean smell. So it's like salty, you know, like if you've been to the ocean, you'll get that seaweed smell. It's like a fresh seaweed smell, which is good. If you leave this overnight, then you'll get that weird dead seaweed smell. I don't like that more. This fresh seaweed smell is much more pleasant. It's like cutting grass. You know, you can when you mow your lawn, then you smell the grass cuttings, which is kind of like that we're doing. Just getting everything cleaned up, basically. Alright. I'll show you another, if you want to clean it more inside. So a little closer here, I'll show you a trick. So these are Hydor Koralia pumps. You can actually twist this. See? These are the twist right here. You twist this off, and it should be able to pop it off. There we go. Make sure you look inside. Nothing is nasty and gunked up. So it looks good. So you just have to basically just clean this area, because this can get gunked up with calcium buildup or anything. Just rinse this off. And there's some stuff inside, but it looks pretty good though. You just put it back. Make sure the rod is clean, looks good. Just put it back in there, and you just twist this back on, and it will click. The only thing that's bad about the design for these pumps are the clips where it's holding. They will break off. So there's usually 3 clips, and mine, this pump already broke 2 clips, but it looks like it's still working. Maybe in the future, if in case if this one last clip actually does break off, I might just glue it, super glue it. So these are pretty cheap pumps, the cheapest, you know, after J-Bow. This is just a little bit more reliable because it's AC, so it's always on all the time. No changing speed, no fancy gizmo. So we'll clean the other one. We'll twist this again. There we go. Pretty easy to twist. Clean this off. Any buildup, any bio fouling. It's kind of like when you go your boat in the ocean. The hull have these barnacles, and it will slow down the speed of your boat. So there we go. Once I'm all done for that one, I will usually grab my second bucket. Let me wash my hands first. There we go. And we'll get some vinegar here. There we go. So this is just white vinegar, distilled white vinegar. We'll pour some on here. I usually just use straight vinegar. Clean some stuff off. There we go. The most needing to clean are these grills. So usually we'll just soak them in. This will also help clean off any algae roots. If you want to do an extra step, you can go spray some hydrogen peroxide and leave it in soaking for about 10 minutes. The vinegar will just help clean off the algae roots so that it does not grow quicker, especially the turf algae. Now if you have like dino or hair algae or bubble algae, it might grow quicker, and this will also kill off any coralline algae that is building up. Because usually you don't want coralline algae on your pumps because that will just calcify stuff and slow things down. And it's hard for the next cleanup. It's harder for you to open it up because it's all fused together. So you're just cleaning that around the grill. There we go. Clean above. Alright, we'll just let that soak there for a second or so while we'll clean this other one. Now since we're using straight vinegar, it's very strong and it will start dissolving any kind of carbonate buildup like coralline algae. Will literally start dissolving and start bubbling. That's how you also test if you have like sand that's calcium based, like aragonite. You just pour some vinegar, and if it starts bubbling, then you know it's a good sand. Get this clean off here. Sometimes it just takes, a minute. Some elbow grease. Just work your way through. No rush. It's not a race. You can kind of see all the little pink stuff where it's all coming off and loose. So straight vinegar, no dilution. Let's work it out. This is also how I clean my kalkwasser dosing containers, the reactors. I just use straight vinegar and then just start using some cloths and just let it soak through, and the white buildup will dissolve. So there we go. And once you put this in your tank and you see the turn the blue light, these pumps will actually glow pink in the blue light because the coralline algae is dying, and that's what they give off the color if you still have some coralline algae left on the pumps. So they will glow like really pink. But it doesn't hurt the tank. You're just basically cleaning it off. And if you have a good healthy reef tank, that coralline algae will get discolonized very quickly. So okay, let's see there. There's that, looks pretty good. Let's get this soap here for the pump. I just like to usually soak this with a quick vinegar to kill any kind of spirulid worms, and also dissolve any kind of organics built inside. Because those worms will actually it's hard to remove. Those little white worms that will get stuck on the pumps. that you can see on your walls or the walls of your sump or any kind of skimmer. They like to stay in that thing. Make sure you get the wires also. Just at least soak it, it will start dissolving. Especially any kind of algae. Now I usually do this like I said, once a month or so. Let's get that lined up. There we go. Now if you have like a utility sink or a bigger bucket or a bigger tub, then this is much more easier because you don't have to worry about spills. There we go. Good. Let's see here. Let's get this cleaned up. Attach back in. Sometimes these are finicky to touch back in. There we go. Once you get the click, then it's good. But if you don't get the click, make sure it's not moving. There we go. Once we're all done, we'll throw this water away. There we go. Then we'll do the rinse with just regular water. Some tap water. Rinse it out. Once we get the rinse, just put it all back together. How to put this back together is just line the wire and the top ridge and just push it in. There we go. And put the cap back on if you have one. Same one on the other one. Make sure it's your propellers locked in. Just basically line that up and push it in. There we go. Looks pretty good. All right. So here's the bucket that we clean all the algae. So this is definitely why you don't want to do it in your tank, because all this algae and nasty will go in your tank and will basically spread this seeds around your tank. And if you have a tank that's not fully established, these algae will grow to a bigger mess. So definitely clean this off. All right, get that brush in there. There we go. Pretty good. All right, go back into our tank. Another thing that I actually do too is before I put my pump back on, I will clean the glass where the pump are located, because usually it will have some coralline algae or algae buildup on the area where I can't reach with my glass scraper. So I'll put in my scraper there. There we go. Get this flip around. Let's clean this off. You can kind of see how it will also be a nice area where a glass will be cleaned. Because if you have the pump, I usually don't move the pump often. So it's just a nice time to clean off that area. There we go. Get this out. There we go. Put this magnet back here. Woo. Before I put it in, I actually just use some regular clean cloths and just start wiping some areas, because sometimes by the coral and algae will be or any algae that's left over will actually come off. So any friction will help. Just wipe it. And make sure every part is locked in, because you don't want to take this out again and then start hearing some rattling inside the tank. So get our little holder in the tank too. Get it cleaned off. Kind of remove any excess, chlorine or contaminants from the tap water. If you use tap water. Once you got that, you just drop this in, put this magnet on the other side, and just will drop in. Pretty easy. And this is what I like about the Hydor Koralia, because they're discontinued now. So if you ever go to a local pet store and they still carry it, definitely buy one or two, because they're pretty reliable and they're pretty easy to maintain because of this design. You don't have to have another magnet or worrying about the magnet on the back. So you can see a lot of these coral and algae are coming off. It's getting soft from the vinegar. So even though I only soaked it for like a few minutes at max, so it's already looking pretty good. There we go. Just basically clean off the last parts. Alright, last magnet here. Ooh! Almost got away. So I'll just line up where my marks are at. Some sediment on the glass. Push this in. Be putting back the pumps on. Here we go. Now you'll have that residue, those flying bits of coral and algae, which is normal. The vinegar wise, it doesn't harm the tank. You might have, as long as it's not a lot of vinegar. That's why we rinse it off. But I know vinegar is not harmful to that reef tank. It's actually used for like carbon dosing, to just have some nutrients export. But there we go. Once it's all lined up, we'll adjust the Powerhead directional wise where it's supposed to be. So like that. Aim it the correct way, I think. It looks good there. There we go, and we'll close the door here. I actually use some zip ties, not zip ties, these twist locks, to kind of just attach the wiring on the tubing here. So I have some tubing secured here, so I just lift this up so that it's not pulling on the Powerhead, because sometimes if you have a tall tank, you need to have your wire so that it's secure and it's not pulling the Powerhead down. Let's lock this through here. There we go. And we'll plug it in. There we go. Alright. Now that is working just fine now. like new. You know, as your coral grow, you will eventually will need more and more power heads or more flow or more way to circulate some water. That's just how the reef tank is. Initially, you won't need a lot of flow because the corals are still small. But once the coral gets bigger and blocks the flow, then you'll have to upgrade to a bigger flow or add more power heads here. So yeah, this one is still pretty good. I know it's still it's a little bit newer, but it's just a regular Seche AC power head. It's the strongest one too. So yeah, looks like we're going pretty good flow here. I can definitely see some polyps moving a little bit more before getting cleaned. So yeah, looks good. Polyps are moving pretty nicely. Yeah. Now we have a little bit more flow now, which is nice. Alright, well, that's it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching and happy reef keeping. Adios.